Welcome to this episode of Movement Medicine Podcast. Thank you to those who have tuned into previous episodes. Please continue to share with your friends, your family, and your colleagues. And if you do have any comments or questions, please remember to add those to the comments and description box. We thank our partners, Fit India Movement, the Back to Fitness Clinic, which is the clinic that Rajat runs, La Ultra the High, which is the race that Rajat puts together in Ladakh, and also the Moving Mountains Within Film, which is the film about the 10th edition of La Ultra the High. So I'll hand over to Rajat, who will introduce today's guest.
Thank you, Darren, and thank you everyone who is watching Movement Medicine Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Anindita Bhateja from Bangalore. So Anindita, just right away jump into your academic background and your professional background, please.
Yeah, so I have done my MBBS and my MD in general medicine from MS Ramaiah Medical College in Bangalore. I finished my MD in medicine in 1999. I worked in the Department of Nephrology and then in the Department of Neurology till 2003 in MS Ramaiah Medical College itself. And after that, since then, I've been in private practice and I'm a physician.
So what about your sort of fitness and exercise background?
Okay, so that's more interesting. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I have never done anything related to fitness ever till 2009 when I was about 39 years old. I was 39 years old. And I have never played a sport, never gone for a walk, never sat. I did cycle a bit when I was in Wales and in the US, but then I had an accident when I was 11 years old, and that was the end of my cycling as a child with some friends, nothing more than that. And I was just so petrified of even getting onto a bike that I never tried that, but that's my only anything outdoorsy that I had ever done till 2009. And 2009, basically, I'm going to keep referring to my husband a lot because that's a huge influence as to why I do what I do. And so he started off with running, but got an injury within about 2.5 months of starting off. And then he took on to cycling. So what would happen is I would take the kids and they would all go cycling and I would be sitting in the car as a driver and waiting for them to finish in half an hour, 45 minutes and come back. So I thought maybe I could walk. I should also tell you that by this time I was huge. I was like 100 kilograms, which is like 220 pounds or something like that. And it was difficult for me to move. It was difficult for me to walk. So while they used to do the cycling and I had no clue or concept of even 500 meters. So because like I said, I've never done this before. So I started off walking and it used to take me about 40 to 45 minutes to do about 2.5 kilometers, which also I realized maybe in like 3-4 weeks time that's how long I'm taking. And I was very scared to even attempt a 5 kilometers because I didn't think I could walk 5 kilometers, forget running, but I didn't think that I could walk it. So I did go ahead and did the Women's Day run, which was here in Bangalore in March of 2009. That was the first one. And a friend of mine who actually you have interviewed before, Dr. Gurmeet Soni Bhalla, so she said, you can come and do this. And I said, I cannot run. So she said, doesn't really matter. You can walk and it's 2.5 kilometers, 2 loops. So you could just do 1 loop and stop. It doesn't really matter. Nobody's like really doing anything. You could just come and see how you feel. So that was my first one in March 2009. And then I kind of I felt very elated that I could finish this walking. I was one of the last 3 people to finish, but didn't really matter. And then went on to do TCS 10K and then went on to do I think about 15 or 16 half marathons, which I have done in various parts of the world, in the US and New Zealand, lots of them in Bangalore, not anywhere else in India, but so those are the places, quite a few in the US, and that's about it. And then And then post that, anyway, I've never been a very fast runner. And the first time that I did one of the trail marathons in near Bangalore called the Kaveri Trail Marathon, which was half marathon again, I was the last person to finish. In fact, the organizers thought I was dead in, somewhere, and they came looking for me, whether I was still alive or not, or I was still walking or doing what. So they came to my rescue, but I was about to finish by then. And I used to get very disheartened that, you know, I'm like the last person and people need to wait for me. And I used to get so upset about the entire thing. But then I also realized it really doesn't matter to anybody else except myself as to what I'm doing. And if I can just go on for whatever time, I mean, people finish their 10 kilometers in 35, 40, 45, or even 1 hour. But I take like 1.5 hours to 1 hour 40 minutes now. But at that time, it used to take me much, much longer to do it. And then what happened is that in 2016, I went to Bhutan. 2015 actually, went to Bhutan for a family trip, and went on to climb Tiger's Nest, which is one of the small little treks, a day trek kind of a thing. And I absolutely freaked out because of the heights. And because I completely freaked out, I threw up, I cried, I sat down and I said, I'm going to die over here and never going to go down, go straight to heaven from here, kind of a thing. But I felt very bad because my 11-year-old daughter was there with me and she had to help me down the entire way because my coming down was terrible and I was like really, really scared of coming down. So when I came back, I said, this is not the right, frame of mind that I go to do anything, because if a family wants to do something, I am not even capable of doing this because I'm just so scared. I mean, physically also I have problems and mentally also I have problems. So I figured out which is a mountain that I can climb, which is not, doesn't require mountaineering skills. Then I went on to climb Kilimanjaro. And I did not summit the first time in January of 2016. So I went back and summited in January to June 2016. And since then I've done it thrice more. And then I went to Everest Base Camp. I went to Annapurna Base Camp, to Ladakh, to Uttarakhand. I've also climbed Mount Elbrus. But I got a knee injury in 2017 while I was doing Everest Base Camp in Kala Patthar. I had a complete ACL tear. And when I came back, they did surgery and it took me the rehab and whatever it took me. So I could go back to walking. But by then I was so interested in trekking that I didn't want to kind of screw up my knees by walking. By running. So I haven't really been running since then, but I just recently in February 2020, I did the Oxfam 50K walk. And in between of all this, at some point, I also said I must start cycling. So I have started cycling. I still can't drink water from the bottle and stuff like that. I'm not a cool cyclist, but yes, I have started cycling. I am able to cycle on Indian roads with traffic, which is like a huge deal. So yeah, so that's it.
That's brilliant. Well done. So, I mean, cycling on Indian roads is in itself, because unlike video games, you have 3 lives, right? In this case, you only have 1. And Bangalore is fascinating. I was there for 3 years, so I can, understand what you're saying. But hey, listen, you saying that your husband has played a very important role. You need to be very careful in this very feminist-driven world. Thanking a husband online. You shouldn't do that. The useless people. Husbands are useless people.
My live-in partner, boyfriend, can I say that?
That's appropriate. Okay, Anindita, so you were saying earlier that it's a family-run hospital that you're at right now. So how has practice for you changed during this time in your own journey?
It's changed. My patients, actually the ones who have been seeing me, because I've been practicing in Anindita Bhateja Hospital from 2001 onwards. And more so from 2006 onwards. Arvind's parents used to basically run this place. 2006 is when he kind of came and took over. He's a neurosurgeon. And since then, so I have lots of patients who have been with me for quite a while, because most of them are diabetic, hypertensives and stuff like that. So there are a lot of patients who come and tell me that, oh, you've lost weight. So that's one. And yeah, so if they're seeing me after 4 or 5 months, and now I have a picture of me of Kilimanjaro in my office. So invariably somebody or the other will say, did you do that? Where is that picture, or something like that? So the conversation does go. When I used to practice earlier, my focus, I think, used to be more about just giving out the medicines and telling them about, for a diabetic, because the diabetes is a huge issue in India. And we have lots of patients who are diabetic. So I think earlier I used to just basically say that, it's, we just give you the medicines and don't have sugar, don't have sweets. I mean, just a basic kind of nutrition thing. But didn't really emphasize on what exercise, how exercise played a role, or didn't really say anything much about anything else except, okay, just do this much of diet. I actually did not even emphasize on diet so much. You just wrote the medicines and you kind of said, okay, do your blood test and come back again, right? But I think now that has definitely changed, because I keep telling them that my writing medicine is just the 5%. The rest of the 95% is what you are doing with your diet, with your exercise, with your activity more than exercise. And even if you are not able to do anything, you walk in your corridor. I mean, I have told people that walk for 10 minutes at a time. Walk for 10 minutes in the morning, walk for 10 minutes in the evening, because there are lots of people who are, first of all, overweight, have hypertension, have heart disease, have osteoarthritis, and lots of other issues, and are also much older. So they may or may not be able to go out and do things. There are also a lot of women who are housebound for their own reasons, because they have children or their families or whatever, and they say, oh, we don't have the time to go and do this. But I think I have started emphasizing a lot more on all of that with my patients, rather than just prescribing medicines.
So what are the common sort of issues that you see with patients? Those are the challenges they present to you when it comes to you suggesting physical activity. You've suggested a few of those, sort of people not having the time or being housebound, but are there any other challenges that you face?
Yeah, I think, most people also feel that they can't do it, specifically if they are already in their 50s or 60s and they haven't really done anything in the last 20, 25 years of their life, even if they have done it earlier. And they really haven't done anything since they were maybe 30 years old or something like that, because of whatever their profession or family or whatever their reasons. They also feel that, it's too strenuous for them to do it, or they can't do it, or something will happen to them. Or a little older people who are, maybe a little older in their 65, 70 kind of age group also feel that they may fall down. They're not very sure. Those kind of challenges also come in for most patients.
What about, Anindita, our colleagues? Most of our colleagues are very inactive. And two things here. Why is it so? Why is it in single digits? And second, what do we do? How do we change that?
Okay, so I think, we just get very, I don't know about other places, but Indians generally, what I feel, we are very housebound and work-bound people. If we just get married, have children, have a profession as a woman, it's like you've just done it all. There's nothing more to do. I mean, you're kind of done. And I think it's a similar thing for men too. I mean, it's not being men or women different, because if they just go to a job and they're able to maintain a family and able to go for holidays once or twice a year, even if it is, to their parents' place or something like that, I mean, you're kind of done. So you don't even think that there is a necessity to do exercise, or it is important for your own well-being to do anything beyond what you're already just doing on your day-to-day activity. Because, the thing that Darren had just said, that what are the challenges? Other challenges, a lot of my women patients who are in the house are constantly telling me, I do a lot of work at home. Like I cook or I clean or I do this or I do that, but then that's your regular everyday activity if you're not taking out time. So I think that's a lot to do with the way we are generally. India is also not a great place, definitely not in the last 20-30 years, where you can do something outside unless until you make a real effort to do it, because you have to find the space and feel comfortable doing it and stuff like that. So I don't think, and the weather is a huge problem, because although Bangalore is pretty great throughout the year, but there are a lot of places in India which can get very hot, very cold, and all kinds of things. So you have to have the right gear, you have to have the right time of the day, and all those kind of things. And you also have to have a disciplined life to a certain extent. You cannot party on Friday and Saturday night till 3 in the morning and go for a run at 5. So I think those are the reasons as to why maybe we don't really do what we should. And how we change with our colleagues is, okay, so we in our hospital have been organizing a run. We have a hospital day in November. We've been doing it over the last, I think we've been doing it for quite some time, about 8-10 years now. So we organize a 5K run every year for all the staff, whether they are housekeeping, admin, doctors, nurses, whoever. And we have also, there are a lot of our staff actually who have started cycling to and from work. They walk. They are more aware of what they're eating. We do have a lot of diabetics amongst our staff itself. And they do, so they are more aware of what they're eating, how much of exercise they're doing. Even if they're housekeeping staff, they are more aware of it rather than just saying, I'm taking the medicine and my sugar is not coming down. So a lot of our doctor friends, actually our junior orthopedician, he has bought an e-bike and he lives about 15 kilometers away. But he's been biking to and from work for quite some time now. My husband has not used, he hates driving the car, or so he says, I have no idea. But he has been biking to and from, to right from his haircut to the hospital, to meetings, to neurosurgical meetings, other meetings, grocery shopping, everything happens on his bike.
And is the house on the first floor of the hospital or something like that?
No, I am about a kilometer away from the hospital.
All right, fair enough.
Pretty much first floor, yeah. It's pretty much. Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. How much emphasis then would you place on individuals doing committed periods of exercise versus building in physical activity to their everyday life?
I think they should have, committed time for themselves at a minimum of 5 days a week, even if they cannot do 7 days. And medically, it is proven more than anything that at least a 30 to 45 minute of some sort of brisk exercise where it is raising your heart rate is always good for you. So that's a bare minimum. And it's fine if you're able to do that. It's okay. We're not saying that you have to, do a 3-hour run every weekend, or you have to do 10 hours of exercise every week or something like that. That's that's individual commitment. But from the professional point of view, from staying healthy point of view, a person who is over 40, a minimum of 30 to 45 minutes committed exercise, a minimum of 5 days a week is definitely what I recommend to almost all my patients.
What about myths? Myths and misconceptions, and even lesser known facts. So I'll give you one to probably start off from. I moved back in 2006 when I joined Manipal Hospital. I was gung-ho about one thing, about rehabilitation for people who are on dialysis, how strength training and cardiovascular exercises could get them either reduce dialysis or maybe even get it off. I thought Manipal would be very excited with that, and we didn't get very far. So patients don't even know that.
Manipal here, by the way.
So what I'm really asking is, lesser known facts for patients, or maybe misconceptions, or maybe myth busting. 3-4 such points if you could raise.
Okay, so people think that if they are going to exercise, they're going to injure themselves. That is one thing. So even if they say, oh, I stay on my first floor, but if I do my steps too many times, I get breathless. So something will happen to my heart. Or I will just, something very simple. Even if you're walking if I say, okay, go and walk in the park for 20 minutes, they have things like I will trip and fall, or I will pull a muscle, or I will get injured, then how will I send my children to school? So those kind of there's a lot of what should I say, they're not very happy to do it, because I think they're just very scared. It's just an unknown territory, and they feel that if I have just gone on for so long without doing it, what is the necessity to do it? Another thing is that everybody, the moment if I say, yeah, I climbed Kilimanjaro or something like that, then the first reaction of the person is, I can't do it. Wow, very good you did, but I can't do it. And I tell everybody that if I can do it, I think anybody can do it, because I'm like flat-footed, I'm heavy, I am slow. If there was a book to be written about how you should not run, I should feature in that. So everything that can go wrong is wrong with me, but it's more a question of training your muscles, training your body, training your mind to say, okay, at least let me try. Very scared to try anything. 5 kilometers, whether you do 1 kilometer or 5 kilometers or 50 kilometers is besides the point. The point is that you should do something.
So obviously we're in this period of lockdown at the moment. Is there any recommendations that you'd specifically give to patients that you'd treat?
See, my patients, anyway, I'm telling them to walk for 10 minutes and 20 minutes on their balcony, on their terrace, on their, little thing anyway. So that is what I continue to say, that whatever you can do, you do it inside your house, whatever you're able to do. There are some people who are a little more enthusiastic, may or may not be my patients, maybe colleagues or other people. Also, I also do yoga 3 times a week, and our yoga teacher sends out a list of stuff that we can do. So I share it with these other people and say, you can do something. I've also told people that and most people do live in buildings, at least 3 or 4 floors building. So I tell them that, you can just do climbing up and down steps. And I'm extremely technologically challenged, as Rajat has already seen. My trying to send him pictures on Google Drive was a complete failure, and that my poor husband had to do something to send him some pics. But the thing is that I have downloaded an app called Zwift and Sufferfest, and that's what I have been doing on my trainer on my bike at home. So yeah, so that's very exciting. Actually, I'm very excited about it because for me it's new. So we're doing that. So you can still figure out things to do. It's not like you can't do it at all. So you can do things at home too.
Brilliant. So Anindita, this was brilliant. Now, just one last bit. One obviously summarized, or maybe things that have been missed out. But strength training was something that you didn't say much about.
Yeah, so strength training is very important. I think initially when I did start off in 2009, I was not good with it at all. I was terrible with it. And I think that's one of the reasons I used to have a lot of injuries. Small injuries, but I would have problems with my back. I would have problems with my ankle. I would get effusions in my knees, and I would, if I maybe tried to run a little faster or do a little longer distance than whatever I was used to, I used to get injured extremely quickly. So strength training, I think, is very important, and so I have started doing it over the last maybe about 4 or 5 years. And that has helped a lot, and specifically more so after my knee injury and my surgery. It's been very, I'm more aware of what I'm doing and how much I'm doing with my quadriceps, with my hamstrings and your glutes and my back and all of those things. And they definitely help. It also helps, I find it helps me doing yoga. My yoga teacher is not a very traditional yoga teacher. So twice a week we do yoga, But the third day is basically some sort of cardio activity with either a medicine ball, Swiss ball, or something else. And even when we are doing yoga the other 2 days, it is a lot of strength training, and it is using your own body weight, and also using focusing on some part of the body, whether it is upper body or it is lower body or something like that. Besides that, on my own, I am very poor at doing things unless and until I have a screen or somebody telling me, now do this, now do this. So I'm not terribly good at doing it on my own. I wish I was, because it would really help. So I had no idea what is core, what is firing up your glutes, what is doing squats, what is a plank challenge. I had no idea what these things even meant to begin with. So yeah, those are, I think, very, very important that you build, and specifically as you get older, because when you're in your 20s and you're not able to do it, or you don't know what to do, and by the time you're 22, 20, and you say, okay, let me do this for one day, and they'll just do it. Most probably, most people would. I mean, maybe some people would have difficulty, but most people would. But when you're almost 50, then it's so much harder to, and like I said, I started only this at 39, so that's 11 years now. And it's so much harder to train your muscles to do something which the muscle has never even heard of or seen in its life. So, for me, even walking was a challenge. Going up and down the steps was a challenge. Climbing one single flight of steps was a challenge. So doing all of that, strength training is most important. If you don't do it, you're most likely going to injure yourself, and then you're not going to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Anindita. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear about your journey.
Thank you. I would just like to add, my son also has gotten into running, and
fantastic.
Yeah, he's doing his PhD right now in Texas, but he's also climbed Kilimanjaro with me. He goes for regular hikes and camping. He runs and he cycles. So that's a great thing from his dad and me, which is good. My daughter has done a couple of 5Ks. Right now she's 17 and thinks we are crazy, and she doesn't want to do anything that we do, but hopefully she'll get back into it once she's a little older. I also do, if you have seen the pictures, Rajat, I also do a little bit of, I have a company which I run in Tanzania, which is called African Adventure. And basically I started this company in 2017 in April. And it was basically, again, to help people climb Kilimanjaro or Mount Meru in Tanzania. People with difficulties, not just the regular 23, 24-year-old who can just run up and down the mountain and set records, but people who have difficulty, because I had a lot of difficulty, and the two guys that I have set it up with, both of them helped me a lot. The first time that I had gone, they were my guides. I didn't know them, they didn't know me. I didn't even know their names for the first 2 days because I was just so focused on putting one leg in front of the other. But they were brilliant, and we have had a lot of successful climbs since then. And we have had people, I think the oldest person that we went up was 65 and the youngest one was 10 years old. So yeah, so that's
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Okay. So great. Thank you very much for letting me join and sharing this. It was great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.